Okay, my phone's at 5%, so I'm determined to finish this before my phone dies. And if not, well. Okay, so my movie is called September. The genre is a horror slash a thriller slash an action, and you can even consider it a drama if you want to. So there's three main characters: Matthew Phillips, a young psychiatrist in his early 30s, and he's super excited to help people. He's quick-witted and intelligent. He was raised by his grandparents because his parents were always gone for work, which led him to being very independent and old-fashioned when treating everyone around him, meaning he was really respectful, politeful to women, etc. He believes super strongly in science and tries to stay away from religion and any kind of spiritual beliefs. So, second character is Sophie Gale, but her nickname is Safi, and that's what she's called. She's a quiet, observative patient in her mid-20s who suffers from schizophrenia and depression. She dislikes leaving her room and interacting with other patients and doctors, and she has little memory of her life before. And even though she's small in figure, she's really strong and really fast. Also, by the way, everything takes place in a hospital, a mental hospital. The third character is Hayden Damaris. She's this sweet old nurse who is kind to everyone she's met, and she's considered to be the grandma of the hospital just because she's worked there for a really long time and everyone knows her. And she's just wise. She's really healthy and agile for her age. So my business card pitch is: a young psychiatrist at his first job meets and makes many new friends at the hospital while along the way discovering the terrible underlying secrets of the inhabitants there and how the hospital came to be. Whoa. Okay, so the through line of action. First of all, the characters. The protagonist is Matthew Phillips, and the is the hospital staff. I'll explain why in a second. So, a little bit of exposition. Matthew Phillips is fresh out of graduate school and is super eager to begin his career. So he applies to the Salzburg Psychiatric Hospital, which will be referred to as the SPH. And he gets a job there just a week later after applying without an interview, so that's a little odd. The SPH has been considered one of the best hospitals in the country for the last 10 years. But in the past few months, the hospital hasn't seen any progress with their patients. No one has been admitted to the hospital or released since September of 2017, September, that's where the name is. Okay, so the main conflict was between Matthew and the hospital staff. Basically, September of 2017, the hospital patients rioted and took over. The original staff was forced to play as the patients while the actual patients acted as the staff. So Matthew is faced with the task to free the hospital staff and take control of the patients once again. Okay, so the inciting moment is Matthew has been welcomed by the staff and is sitting down with his first patient, Safi. He kind of struggles to get her to talk, but eventually he comes up with this new method. He thinks of trying to communicate with her just by writing, see if she's open to it. So he approaches her with his notepad and his pen, just trying. So Safi at first is like, "What are you doing?" But she accepts it. And then immediately, Safi, my girl, she friggin' attacks Matthew and tries to kill him. But there's nothing wrong with him, right? Yeah. She eventually realizes that, he's normal. He has nothing to do with the patients that took over. So she apologizes and kind of explains what had happened in the past few months. So the plot points. Safi basically recounts the story of what happened in the hospital, and Matthew is compelled to call the authorities right away. He thinks they should call the police, but Safi's like, "No, they won't believe you. Believe me, we already tried." And then while they're having this conversation, they're interrupted by Hayden, who, by the way, is the leader of all of this. She's the one who incited the riot and who is in charge of this entire thing. So then Matthew just returns each day to his job, as he should, and he tries to talk to different patients, trying to figure out more of what happened and what he can do to save them and help them. But Hayden catches him. She finds out that he's been trying to do this, and she doesn't allow him to leave the hospital. So Matthew basically faces days of torture and isolation, but eventually manages to escape his room and meet up with Safi, and they come up with his escape plan. And yeah, the escape plan is for like a week from then. So they head out to inform the rest of the patients so everyone can escape. So the morning of the escape, Safi disappears. Ooh, yeah, it's creepy. So the structural climax is when in the middle of their escape plan, they are actually it's at the end of their escape plan. They're out back, they're running towards the woods that are behind the hospital. And Matthew comes face to face with Hayden. Oh no, but remember this old lady is agile, so they have this fight, which is really awkward for Matthew because again, this is an old lady he's fighting. Um and more of the staff come out to help catch these patients that are running away. Um so the following action, Matthew and Safi surrender along with a few other patients in order to save the escapees just because they would keep trying, and it was all of them dying or them surrendering. So they're sent back to the hospital, and the emotional climax is basically when Matthew is back in the hospital. He's one of the last few alive because the others have been killed. They escaped and stuff. And he faces Hayden again, and he just pours out his heart in an emotional monologue, reaching out to Hayden, trying to explain to her the severity and the consequences and everything that's going on, the reality, basically. But she turns away. Yeah, she's not very nice. Okay, the denouement is a shot of the hospital staff being seen to prepare stuff in trying to retrieve the escaped patients. Oh, and basically, Safi, Matthew, and a few others that are left alive are forced to cooperate as well. And yeah, that's basically the final shot. So you know there's gonna be a sequel, but yeah. The character arcs are Matthews, he starts off sort of big headed about his position and his intelligence, but he doesn't necessarily like show that off. But through the course of the movie, he's humbled by the stories of other patients and of the real staff members and of the actual patients, and he's tested intellectually. And yeah, so he ends up emotionally stronger and even more determined than before. And Safi, she starts off really feeble and afraid, but over the course, she gains confidence and strength. And then Hayden, my girl, she starts off bitter and jealous, and then she gets hurt by Matthew's monologue. She gets touched a little bit, but mostly hurt. And she becomes even more jealous and bitter and gets even angrier, which is not good. But yeah, that's it. Ooh, 8 minutes, and my phone hasn't died.